but that there's going to be super quakes and super tsunamis and all of this stuff that will slowly, weed out people and diminish the population. So, and it will end in a pole flip.
A magnetic pole flip, or an actual flip of the planet itself?
Don't know. I think the planet itself, but I don't know. I shouldn't say, because I really don't know.
No. I guess no one really knows, but it's interesting. So when you get this telepathic information, are they also, you're in their presence, or is it all unseen? Or are they standing there?
Most of the time it's unseen, though I can see through them at times when they stand, here in my cabin. They're going to other contactees as well, so some of this information was told to other contactees besides myself, being the researcher in this. From these experiencers, I piece it all together and just whatever they tell me, I say, I share that information.
So, I mean, their culture, their Sasquatch culture, has a long history, and do they ever relay some of the developments in their history to you? Because
no, they said this is a time of knowing that in time, they said, sometime real soon, a lot of the mysteries will be revealed to us, and they want to start with revealing some of it to me. I mean, there's people starting to have more and more contact. In fact, there's a guy that had contact down in right outside of Grants Pass, Oregon, and he says, I'm the first that this has ever happened to. And somebody told him, well, 33 years ago it started with me, and as a social scientist, and I've already documented all that. He's trying to reinvent the wheel. But I didn't do this for money, fame, or anything, but I like to still keep the record straight,
Right, and you have these letters in the book even, I mean, addressed to Dream Man.
Yeah, the nickname they gave me is Dream Man, and I asked them why, and they said because I'm a visionary ahead of my time.
So are these actual letters?
And so they always say Dream Man, and then they talk to me. Once in a while it comes out Kewaunee, but I'd say 90% of the time it's Dream Man, that my name that they gave me. And there was some, I can leave a tablet of paper out, and with a flare pen, a dark pen, and not all of them can do this, but they don't write longhand. It looks like a third grader that printed, but what they printed is profound.
Wait, is this what I'm seeing in your book? Actual notes?
Yes, that's the actual page of their letter to me, and I've got stacks here. I only put, I think, 3 in the book, but I've got stacks of this stuff.
Wait, what I'm seeing in the book is the Sasquatch handwritten letter to you.
Yeah, that's all directly from them, from the ancient ones.
Well, they have very nice penmanship, I would say. I mean, it's neat. I mean, it's interesting. It's that's so bizarre that these letters, I mean, it's very high spiritual knowledge.
It's not really bizarre. It's just different in a way that we haven't thought of. We think we're the only ones. We're so self-centered, so anthropocentric that, we need a jolt to wake us up because the planet's dying. I mean, 75 to 80% of the fish in the oceans are dying right now. I mean, that's all that's left. And the 71% of the planet is water. What's wrong with us? And the Russians and even us here at the Hanford facility on the Columbia River dumped nuclear waste in. What are they, nuts? They are crazy. All of them are doing that right into our environment where we live. Yeah. It's awful.
That is the downside of humanity, and I think, what the Sasquatch are telling us, the ancient ones are saying, we have to grow up. We have to respect the planet. That's what you're saying to
Well,
us
it's
as
not going to
well.
happen. Now, last November, I went to Barnes & Noble, and I was going through the magazine section, and I saw a UFO magazine. And I've had articles written about me and stuff in these magazines, and I just thought, geez, I haven't seen one in a long time, and I glanced at it, and as I was perusing, there was a little short article about a man in July of 1968. I was in India at that time. I had just come back from the Himalayas investigating the Yeti, and he was in northern Italy driving in an isolated area, and a spaceship landed in broad daylight, and he got out of the car and was watching it. A robot came out and started fixing something outside the ship, and a humanoid being walked behind him, and he saw this man looking at him from the road, and he started telepathing. And the guy, of course, you get confused right away because you start wondering, why is he doing this or that? And, of course, you're talking to him, even though the man finally realized that, the Italian. So they started asking each other questions and stuff, and the ET said that he was from another part of the galaxy and all this stuff, and they were just visiting. And the Italian asked him a question, and I forgot what it was, but, some question about planet Earth. And the ET said, I would not be so concerned about that. I would be more concerned about what's going to happen in your very near future when you have a pole flip and 80 to 85% of the population of the planet will be gone.
Really? That's what the ET told this guy.
That's what the ET said. And I guess if it flips, there's, I don't know, 300, 400, 500-mile-an-hour winds or something that may flatten everything. I really don't know. I don't know.
Well, it seems if you're near an ocean, I mean, I would think that the best places to be are on mountains because, even though the pole flips, all those oceans just move all over the place. I mean,
They told me either underground in a cave or building an underground place, that's
well, there could
you
be
live
an
underground,
ocean.
but
don't you think, anyway, I guess that's happened before. I mean, I would think there might be signs of that, but that's the kind of information you're getting as well, you're saying, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, so it all matches up. And I've read prophecy, I mean, from Nostradamus, Bible prophecy, Edgar Casey, all of this stuff. The only thing I see that is not consistent is the time frame. Why? Because we have the ability to change the future based on group energy and thought.
Well, that's what I think. If enough of us
things, or we can just stand there and let the truck hit us, so to speak. So, that's why the time frame changes, and that's the only thing that's inconsistent.
Well, that's what I feel. If enough of us put positive or higher intention thought out there, we can actually change that destiny so it might be one of peace and calm instead of what other people have seen. I think that's possible for humanity to shift. And I think 2012, December 21st, 2012, might be that moment where we awaken the collective consciousness to make a huge shift in the field of humanity. This might be what it's all coming down to.
Here's what they said. They said people think that, 1 minute after midnight or something, some horrendous thing is going to happen. Well, they said it's already happening. They told me, they said this, I think 2 years ago. They said it's already happening. It's slowly building up. Our DNA is being restructured cosmically. Now, there's a lot of information out right now that talks about this in a different way, and how a lot of animals on this planet, that their DNA changed. And there's studies where they took a insectivore, an insect-eating lizard and put him on an island where there were just a lot of berries and plants and stuff like that, and it absolutely changed. And they checked the DNA and all this stuff. So we are changing, and they said right now anyone that's is trying to change and be a better person, they'll get 3 times the good karma back if they reach out and help others. Those that reach out and do bad things to others and to hurt people, they're getting 3 times back that karma. And they do talk in terms of karma because that's one of the laws of the universe. Mm-hmm. They started talking about karma to me back in 1985.
But if our DNA is changing, and I think it's changing for the better, I think more of our human potential, our empathy, our clarity is coming online, then I think there's hope for the human race to survive.
Well, it is going to survive because they said they're going to take many of the people to help them to survive, so they don't start with for the Stone Age all over again. Mm-hmm. Of course, again, the Stone Age people, the Neanderthals, were just part of their experiment that were dropped off. There is absolutely no link anywhere, any missing link going from the Australopithecus, and as it goes on to through to Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis, and so forth, all the way through, there is no missing links. Science has made that link in a fantasy thing.
But
and
maybe
yet they call it science. It's ridiculous.
No, I know,
but they have similar DNA, so they say, we come from them. Well, certainly, because the ETs were, again, experimenting genetically, and there's still places on this planet, especially in outer Mongolia, where the Neanderthals are still living. They're like the Sasquatch. They're psychic, and they know that people will try to harm them, so they stay away from people.
So Neanderthals could be a form of Sasquatch as well.
No, you don't. You could say that in the most loose word.
No, I know. They're totally different races.
I'd rather not go there. It just doesn't
Okay,
sound
but there
right.
was breeding between, they have found breeding
it's like
between
saying,
humans.
the Chinese are the same as people in Africa. Well, in a way they are, but in a way they're not.
Well, no, but there was breeding. They've proven between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. They've proven that, and genetically, we have a small percentage of Neanderthal genetics.
But it isn't through evolution; it's through genetic engineering.
Right. So you're saying here we basically don't have any relationship to the apes, but yet we do have similar DNA. It's because the ETs manipulated those genes and infused kind of off-planet genetics into those apes.
I don't want to go any deeper than that because I don't know anymore, and I do know that we have some type of genetic connection with chimpanzees. But what that is, we can't make some go and start speculating, which they have. Oh, therefore it proves we're from apes because they're the closest and they can do things and do tricks and be almost human. I don't quite understand that, and I'd rather not speculate because I'd rather talk about what I do know, not what I don't know.
Right. I'll just add in that Zecharia Sitchin showed that at least 2% of our genetics came from somewhere else. Absolutely. It's just as if overnight something was implanted into us that had no terrestrial origin. This is what Zecharia Sitchin says. And then we were created out of that. So they may have used the base, and I'm just speculating, the base of these ape-like creatures implanted ET DNA to create who we were, and they may have done earlier experiments with other beings or transplanted them totally. So what you do know is what they tell you pretty much telepathically, right?
Right. I mean, I'd rather talk about other things and get off
Yeah,
this a little bit because
no, I
we're
know.
just spinning our wheels a little bit, and I don't
No,
know anymore. And I think that
I,
we should.
I,
There's so
I
much more to talk about.
you're right. I would like to talk about this understanding. Thank you for getting us on track. This understanding of what it means, this kind of how do you understand interdimensionality? Because you talk a lot about
So
these.
if people don't like the word interdimensionalism, if they don't like the word psychic, then or the word paranormal, then they can just exchange it and use the word quantum mechanics, because this is all from mainstream quantum physics.
But can
And
you
this is,
explain it a little more so we have an understanding what that means?
well, I don't know physics, so I can't explain that in the way that maybe you want. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that all this stuff is quantum physics. And this is it's a wide open field for quantum physicists. So that's not my field. So I
Right.
can only say what I know. Now, I was taken twice. Once by the ETs that took me ahead 16 years into the future. And they told me that they had, I saw a lot and was amazed at how the world had evolved and everything. And that was, let's see, they said, this is important, that they taught me. I spent a lot of time there, but as far as I know, when I came back, I asked, well, what was going on? I said, I can't remember. And they said, because they took you back to the same time that you left. And I said, then that's not helpful to me. I don't understand anything. And they said, it's all in your mind, and it will be triggered and released, and you'll remember all of this in time. And then Pashoma in Oklahoma, the chief of the ancient ones there, took me into another dimension. The same thing happened. I didn't get upset or anything. I just asked them. And they said, well, you met him and experienced all this, but for right now, it has to be this way. But it's another time and space on when you go through these portals.
Uh-huh. So are they training you in a sense to be more like them, more
Yes.
Okay. Is that something you can also teach other people? I mean, how do we
Right now,
access?
it's not for other people. It's only for those that are ready.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many different things I wanted them to do, and they wouldn't do it. I asked them, I said, because you're not ready.
Uh-huh.
So, now I'm getting ready because I've been working on myself and what they have said to me.
But if other people, I mean, if they have a sincere wish to contact these beings, star beings or Sasquatch, I mean, can it happen just with that intention?
Say that again, please.
I'm just saying, if people have a sincere desire, like sincere because they're interested and they want to help, is there
If they
something
want to
they can?
help the planet, Alan,
Yes.
then the Sasquatch are interested. But they said, well, we're not interested in curiosity seekers. There's too much important work to do because they hold the grids together, the electrical grids, electromagnetic grids of the Earth, which is, it's like a part of the aura of the Earth. And they work at this because the planet's in danger. I mean, it's dying, and we're still, playing the stupid card. At least this is the governments of the world, because they like to manipulate. But they said the darkness is fading. The light, we're holding on to the light, and your prayers will help. And when you meditate and you tune in, you'll raise your spiritual vibrations and be closer to us, and so we can interact better. Because some people you can't, and at times, like when I was sick, they said, well, don't worry that you're not getting all the messages because your vibrations are down. You just rest and don't worry about it.
So is
I
that
do.
their? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The ETs took me about 6 weeks ago when my back I have a ruptured disc. I was in pain for a long time, I think about 5 or 6 weeks, and I didn't bother them. I was so busy myself with other things, but it was hard getting around. And the ancient ones said, we asked the ETs to come and take you so they could heal you because you're suffering too much. And I thanked them, and 2 days later, I got up in the morning and, I was ready to run a country mile. And it's been good ever since. They took me twice that week and worked on me. And I always say, please don't erase my mind so I'll remember. And I joked with them one time and said, matter of fact, while I'm on the ship, how about taking me for a ride? I'd like to,
did you
travel
remember
a little bit in there. But they erased my mind. I don't know. As long as I'm healed, that's all that counts.
Well,
at this point, apparently, I don't know all the reasons. I don't know. I know a lot, but I don't know everything, and I'm still learning.
No, I understand, because when I've had ET type experiences, as if you're in an altered state of consciousness, and it takes so much concentration of awareness to maintain a clear, a kind of state of awareness in the presence of these beings. That's been my experience. So it takes a lot of inner work, I think, to remember these experiences. And
the Sasquatch and the ancient ones also have a sense of humor. And when my editor was here, she camped out for 3 days and trying to have an experience, but they later told me that she wasn't ready. So, but we worked on the book, and then of course had food here and stuff. And after dinner, which was in the summertime 2 years ago, we went for a walk on these back roads here. Well, in broad daylight, bears and mountain lion have stepped onto the road. It's that wild where I'm at, and so forth. Now, we went for a walk, and she's asking me questions, but we're walking right along, getting my exercise, and all of a sudden, I'm a storyteller, naturally. So when I was teaching college, I would, present a theory or a situation, pardon me, and then I would often give an example by telling a story so people can relate. The native people do this, but I've been doing it naturally. I'm not trying to copy anybody. So I started to explain some stuff to her and telling, these stories and the different experiences that I've had. And halfway through the story, 2 Sasquatch came up behind us on the road, but they were invisible. Mm-hmm. And I stopped, and I told her, I said, can you feel that? And she said, feel what? I said, my whole body's vibrating. They're right here, a few feet behind us. And she looked around, and I said, no, they're invisible. I said, you don't feel them? And she said, no, I don't feel anything. And all of a sudden, we're discussing this, and one of the ancient ones says, never mind us, finish the story.
Oh, that's funny.
They were guarding me and monitoring me, and they were interested in my story, and they could care less if the woman could feel them or not. Mm-hmm. So, they do that. Another time I was in eastern Tennessee on an expedition, and these people took me out to an area. And all of a sudden I saw a 6-foot Sasquatch run and leap in midair to go behind a tree, and he dematerialized in midair because they have great springing ability. So I knew there were 4 Sasquatch there. That's what came to me telepathically. There's 3 kinds of telepathy: verbal telepathy, feeling telepathy, and visual telepathy. And when you're really attuned, you get all 3 at once. Now, we started walking back to the trailhead. And this is up in Appalachia there. And we're walking along, and I said to them, I said, oh, just a minute. The 2 ladies that brought me out there from that area. And I said, just a minute, I'm going to hoot to them. Now, an owl will go, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo, hoo-hoo. But they do hoo-hoo, hoo, and really bellowous. And so often I've done that, and they would hoot back. So I stopped. It was in the daytime, and I hooted, and I'm listening, and the 2 women busted out laughing. And I turned around and said, what's going on? And she said, they just said, tell Kewaunee he can do better than that.
They
That's their
said
little
that.
sense of humor.
Oh, that's funny. That is funny. I want to ask you though about what you said before about maintaining the grid on the planet, and it sounded like the Sasquatch and the ancient ones were working very hard to maintain the grid because there might be some relationship between that and the pole shift. If would you say?
Obviously, because
So
there's the magnetic field moves 40 miles, between 35 and 40 miles every year going east. So pilots have to get a refresher course once a year so the navigators don't go off course.
right.
So this is going on right now. They don't advertise this, but it's going on. So I don't understand a lot about the shift. Right now, they're very busy over the last couple of years, and then there's times that they're there, and they tell me they're there, but they're not answering questions or doing anything.
So you're saying the Sasquatch are very busy in a way.
And the ancient ones, they both are. All of these beings are, because the planet's ready to fall apart, and all these things are happening. And this is on a very, biological and geological level. I mean, they pick up rocks and stones often because each one has a separate vibrational frequency, and they use it in different areas. They've got to find that certain stone, and they've been seen piling rocks up and stones and things like that. How they use them is a mystery. Again, they don't sit down and divulge every little thing. They just kind of spoon-feed people.
Well, because some people say that the grid itself, the intersecting points are where portals or matter and antimatter come together, or passageways through other time space continuums exist, and maybe it's not just the Earth that seems to be shifting, but the whole of our galactic family.
It is, because right now all the planets in our solar system are heating up. I mean, Pluto is still in its orbit going outward now, further away from us, but they can see that it's warming up. All the planets are heating up, and it's coming from the sun. And this happens, and this is affecting us, our DNA and everything, but this happens every so many thousand years. I don't know if it's every 26,000, but it's, anyway, it does happen every so many thousand years, and this is the first time, and I use this word loosely, that modern man is going to experience this. But we're not modern at all. If we're killing our own people, that is, families kill family members, we're starting wars all the time, governments are not taking care of their people, they're too busy gathering materialism, money, and power. So, this is ridiculous. This is not good. These people are not honest in helping the planet. They're too busy, getting the oil out and digging and polluting everything. Everything's polluted, everything. Do you know that an infant, just out of the womb, when they check the blood and what's in there, there's anywhere from 200 to 250 different chemicals in that child's body, and they haven't even lived yet.
That's awful.
Why? Because it's coming from us, from carpeting, from draperies, from furniture, from even the wooded furniture and stuff has all these chemicals and stuff in it. I mean, this is where we've gone crazy.
Well, I'm sure it's also affecting the Sasquatch, even though they live in the wilderness. It must be affecting their chemistries.
Sure, and they're angry. They're angry about it, and I don't blame them. We're messing up their home and this planet, and they said if we destroy ourselves, they'll go next because there won't be much left.
So what can we do? I mean, we've gotten ourselves into quite a mess, but what are the solutions here?
There is none right now. I could speculate. As a cryptoanthropologist, I've got a background in mainstream anthropology, but there's no need to go there because it's just speculation, and it's not going to happen. I mean, nobody is stopping this freight train It's just going and going and going. It's not slowing down, it's speeding up. And our society now, economically and everything, is starting to suffer. And basically, capitalism is a dinosaur because we run out of natural resources. Well, what's left? Well, then we turn into peons, and those with the money and power all of a sudden are over us. So whatever happens, there'll be plagues and things from people dying if we have natural disasters, because there's dead bodies all over the place, and there's not enough people to bury them and so forth. And those people who are rummaging for food, if it gets that bad, will be in contact with disease, and it'll spread. And people will be dying from, typhus and from all kinds of things.
Well, I think there's hope, though, that because we are evolving and changing and becoming more compassionate and open-minded and in a way multidimensional ourselves, I think we can possibly, not for sure, but possibly avoid a lot of that mess. That's my hope.
No, we can't, because you don't have the power to do so. You can be a light worker and be on your own between you, God, and them, and that's what I've done. I've got 1 foot in society, and 51% of me is with them. Why? Because I like them and because I want to see a healthy planet. I'm not against doing anything to anybody or to harming, trying to go against the government or anything. I'm not into any of that. I just believe myself in staying close to God, and I don't belong to any religion, but I pray all day long, off and on. I take time to pray for world peace, the preservation of Mother Earth, and the healing of the planet.
Well, that's doing something, and that has an effect. And I think if enough people did that, it would have a tremendous effect, and things can change. I do believe
it'll only mitigate it. It'll only mitigate it. It won't stop it from happening. We've gone too far. If you don't believe that, even though it matches up to what the Hopi said, they've already announced, I've got a guess on this, maybe 8 years ago or 10 years ago, that we've already gone through the window of opportunity to stop all this, and we're into the fourth world now, where it's the great purification and the cleansing of the planet, and to get rid of the village idiots that think that the only thing in this life is materialism and to dominate other people, and it has nothing to do with that.
Well, not everyone thinks that, and I think there's a huge shift, a huge awakening here, and I don't know. I don't know if the future's been decided one way or
I'm not
the other.
saying everyone is thinking that way. I'm saying the majority is. Just like, what is that 15 or 20% that may make it? Those would be the light workers probably from all over the planet, maybe, because they said to me back in the 80s that there'd be something like 1 billion or 1.5 billion people left if we're lucky, kind of thing. Maybe it'll only be 500 million. All this is scattered in little groups all over the planet.
I mean,
so I don't know. I mean, it sounds severe, but again, I don't want to sound like Dr. Doom, and I probably am. But I'm just passing. All I'm doing is stating the prophecies, and I'm stating what the ETs and the Sasquatch and the ancient ones are saying. I don't know any better. They say put away enough food for food, water, medicine, and for 2 years, and to have a safe place. And the only safe places are in the wilderness or underground somewhere. And that's what they said.
Well, other people are doing that. Of course, the Mormons have been doing that for a while. I know people in the Northwest doing that, and I don't know. A lot of us are still in the cities, but do you have any direct contact with these beings right now? Do they want to relay any specific message that you can tap into telepathically to just tell the audience?
No. Everything that I said, like I said, they spoon feed people, I've shared. And at this point, they have nothing to share. Nothing else at this point. See, they told me back in 1994, they said, if we tell you everything, how to have a good life and how to avoid all the challenges in life and all these different things, and so forth, well, then your karma would become our karma, they said. They said, because you have free will and you've got to judge for yourself, and we can't live for you. So we'll only tell you so much, then you've got to make your own decisions based on free will.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have free will, and I think we have free will to change the destiny, even if there's people who predicted certain things that may or may not happen. And that's, I think, where free will is. There's a lot of experiments now in time dimensional travel, and maybe that's a point to go to or reference.
Well, there is time travel. These beings have that. Some of these ETs have that ability. Maybe all of them do that. Come here, because the thing is that there's like a SETI, where they have spending millions and millions of dollars putting these radio waves out into space. It's silly. They've never really done anything. The ETs are already here, and they have been here right along. And those that are coming that don't have regular bases here dimension hop. They go through portals in space. There's even aquatic portals, they said, where the Loch Ness Monster, that we call it, they said, goes through them, and that's why they can never find him. They looked underwater, and they said, geez, there's hardly any fish there. How can something so big and a family of these things ever survive? It's impossible. And I'd been up to Scotland and to the Loch Ness area. And that's why they're not getting them, because they're interdimensional, and they have that ability too. The Black Panther phenomena that's in Hawaii and Germany and Ireland and basically all through Great Britain and many other places, even in Spain. Well, where are they coming from? The biologists say, people are letting them go. Jesus, almost like every other person on your block has a Black Panther. But why aren't these panthers killing people in areas where there's not a lot of food?
I always
they're
thought
from
I
another
had
dimension, and they're not trying to do that.
Oh, I always felt
so. There's all these things going on that we that are changing, and the ETs can come 100 light years if they want, if they can find the right portals, and they can be right here, in 2 or 3 or 4 hours or something. Some of them in a very, very short period of time.
Well, that's why I brought up the idea of time travel, because perhaps there's a split or bifurcation in time where perhaps that was one destiny for the Earth to go into destruction and doom and pole change, and possibly there's another timeline that could be taken where we split off into a more peaceful, harmonious planet.
Again, it's a theory, speculation. I read.
Yeah, it's all speculation.
What I've been told, and it could happen. I don't know myself. I don't know.
Well, I know I've interviewed people like David Anderson on this program who've talked about actually being able to manipulate time and time directions, it seems like. So
now we're talking quantum physics, so we're not talking about Sasquatch. I mean, directly about the experiences of Sasquatch and what they do and stuff. We're going off on just a little tangent.
Right. No, I'd like to get back to Sasquatch because there's so much to say about them. And they do, of course, include this interdimensionality, but your research with the Sasquatch, I think, is what other people can benefit from understanding and the relationships that
Right, but I'm not a physicist, so I can't comment anymore because I don't know anymore.
No, okay. Well, let's get back to
the... Just the fact that they do that, and I've seen them dematerialize in front of me twice, it didn't shock me. I just felt good that I had that experience.
Well, you seem to, you also, this whole thing, the Black Panther phenomenon is very interesting, and some of these dog-faced people, it seems like there's a whole, maybe in a way, separate universe of odd, strange animals. There's also a picture in your book of these albino deer.
Yeah, but they're terrestrial. They're from here.
They're from here, but
there's even it only takes, let's see, William James said it only takes one white crow to prove that all crows are not black.
Right.
So I have a picture taken up in Canada of a white crow, because they have white bears. I'm not talking polar bears, but brown bears, or I'm sorry, black bears that have some kind of double recessive where they become white, but they're not polar bears or anything. They're living here in British Columbia. So I'm saying that this is a phenomena that's apparently is universal, because the Sasquatch, there's white, blonde, auburn, black, brown. There's different kinds, and some of them had one in Russia. A woman, when the Sasquatch type there, walked up to the cabin. It was dark brown, but it had the forearm was all part of the forearm was white.
Mm-hmm.
Like a birthmark or something. But so anyway, they're like us in the sense that they have these variations.
And there's particular ones that you are in touch with that have told you their names, right? I mean, they're constant for you.
Right, like there's Andan is from their language. Haloti is from their language. However, they take from us as well if they like names. For example, Haloti's grandmother's name was Sally. And I said, where did she get that name? She said, well, from when the red-bearded people came up the Mississippi years and years ago, that her parents named her Sally because they liked the name. Because they listened in and heard the women there that was with them, was Sally, and they liked the name. Another name, they take Indian names. Neshoba was her older brother's name, or her younger brother, I should say, but he was 20 years old. And then her little brother is Beavertail. Then her youngest sister had I'm trying to think right now, but it was a Mexican name. So we do the same thing, I mean, different East Indian people and Asian people and so on come to our country, and often they, my name is, Mike Tashima or something, a Japanese name, but they have choose, English names,
Yeah.
Again, like I say, that's what these beings are doing.
You know what? The other interesting part you were talking about, how a lot of the tribes of Sasquatch come together and have council meetings.
Yes.
Well, can you go into some of that a little more, because they must confer about the state of the planet at those meetings and where we're going.
I'm going to finish up here in a few minutes.
I know it's getting.
But the ancient ones contacted a woman in Dallas and said, we want Dream Man here. He needs to come for consult. They're going to have a consult with elders and everything, and they wanted me there. And so I flew down there and drove for quite a ways, and then went up into the Kiamishi Wilderness in Oklahoma. And they had said to this woman, said, why do you want him? And he said, because he's a Dream Man is his family. He's a part of our family, and we want to take him. And they live underground there. So I arrived, and when I did 2 days before, Pashoma, the chief, had to go. Now I'm positive I didn't get the whole story, but he was taken in a spaceship somewhere, so they didn't have a consul for me to go, so they didn't take me like they said. So Haloti came every night at 9 o'clock. As soon as I got in the tent, about 8:30, 8:45, and this was in May of this year, 2012, and she would sing the whippoorwill song to me. It was absolutely beautiful. They can mimic almost anything. And she would stand there for 10, 15 minutes and sing the song, and I would telepath to her, and I'd lay there in my sleeping bag and listen, and she's right a few feet from my tent. So I said, do you want me, the first night there, I said, do you want me to come out? And I got up, and when I did, she moved around where there were no windows, so I couldn't see her. And, I mean, she was just a few feet away, and then when I slowly went back into the sleeping bag, she came around front again in front of the window that I had for air. They can see even through a house, just like we have, heat sensing devices. Well, they have it built right into them. Somehow they evolved with this, and she could see me moving anywhere in that tent, even though it was just black as can be out. So she did this every night because I went for 10 days thinking I was going to be, with them, and they needed something that I have, some knowledge that I have, and they wanted me to sit in on this. So I thought, wow, this is a wonderful opportunity. And of course, again, it didn't happen. But the last night there, I told her, I'm leaving tomorrow morning, and because the earth changes, I don't think I'll ever be back here again. And she cried. And I told her I loved her, and of course, I've been saying that to her for years now. But, she tells me she loves me and asks God to bless me and that kind of thing. And she came 6 o'clock in the morning. It was still a little dark out, just slowly getting light, barely light. And she sang to me again, and she cried some more. And, I said, I love you, and I always be thinking of you. And she's about 6'3", 6'4". She could be even 6'5", somewhere in there. But, right around 6'4", we'll say. And she's beautiful and long, straight hair all the way down to her waist. So,
and you haven't seen her again, huh?
No, there's too much going to happen, and they don't want me to travel. They said it's too dangerous to limit your travel. So if I have to do anything at all, I ask them what their opinion is.
I see. So, and they tell you right away.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you've written an amazing book with beautiful documentation, and I think, in a way, because all sentient beings have access to the same consciousness, it seems like anyone who's sincere enough in trying and wanting to help could possibly reach them mentally, telepathically.
Yeah, they have done this to many people, that I told what to do, and a man called me from northern Saskatchewan and said he's had some experiences but no telepathy, and he's wanted to know if, people think you just telepath a little bit and they'll be there. And I'm sorry, they're busy. They don't, they're not grazing and sitting around eating leaves or something, or eating a pork chop or some venison or whatever. There are people that are evolved and highly intelligent with all these abilities, and so they're doing some work, and they're not sharing what it is. But I respect what they're doing and the limitations that I have, because I'm not ready apparently for that. But this man told me that he wanted to learn, and I taught him over the phone, and then we talked again about a month later, and still no progress, and then I hadn't heard from him. This was last year. Well, in June, he called me up from Ontario. He said him and his wife moved, and they're living in a house way in the woods. And he said he started telepathing once they got settled, and the Sasquatch came to him. And the first thing the Sasquatch said is, "So you want to talk to me, do you?" And this is how they are. And so they had a brief conversation, and he left. The Sasquatch left. And he said he'd get back to me and let me know if there's any more communication, but you have to want to help. They don't have time to just sit around and chit chat. They're very busy,
Right.
very, very busy.
So there's an actual technique that you can teach people if they truly are sincere to start to telepath with these
Right.
beings.
I have this in both books, especially, of course, my first book is The Psychic Sasquatch and Their UFO Connection, and the second one is The Sasquatch People and Their Interdimensional Connection, which people can find by going to the SasquatchPeople.com. SasquatchPeople.com to purchase the book or to check out my website. If people are having experiences and they want to contact me, they can go to SasquatchPeople@hotmail.com. SasquatchPeople@hotmail.com. And I'm very open to anyone calling me because I help people constantly. I mean, every week I've got one or two people that I have to spend time with. I don't know who they are, other than they're nice, very nice people having experiences. So if anyone wants to call me, my number is 425-844-8409. 425-844-8409. And I'll be happy to help you. And like I said, they can get the book through me directly by calling or going to my website because it'll change your life, the information that's in there. It's the most sophisticated book out there on who they are. And one person read my books and got excited, I mean really excited, went out and bought 5 books on Bigfoot. The person never read one book of the 5. The person started going through the books and found out it's, we're tracking them and a lot of mosquitoes out this time of year and, just silly stuff. And, they just repeat everything else. And, these are good, sincere people, but because they're stalking them, they're driving them away because they want proof, therefore they want to exploit them for their own ego gain. And the Sasquatch know that, the ancient ones know that and everything, so they stay clear of these people. They're nice people, most of them, but, again, they're not doing the right thing, and they don't believe in what I'm doing. Well, it has nothing to do with belief. It has to do with the 224 people that I documented, plus over 1,000 experiences from them over the last 33 years. And that's not proof, empirical proof that mainstream science wants, but sorry, this is just one of those things, and that if you don't believe it, good for you. I don't care. That's okay, everyone has a different way of expressing themselves and believing in things. And
Right.
I can only tell you the truth as I know it, and what I do know, I've put in these 2 books, and of course I'm having experiences all the time. The last radio show I was on, the person said, "So these are loving people," and I said, "Yes, they're very loving." And one was listening in here, and they said, "Yes, we are very loving," and kind of giggled. He was a juvenile, a teenager. That there's 2 teenagers that are out here, and I really like them. I really like them.
Well, I think you've done a beautiful job in terms of showing that the Sasquatch connection is one of consciousness, not one of tracking and stalking and trying to find them as a biological experiment. There's something much more evolved going on here that has to do with the fate of who we are as human beings and the planet.
Yes, and they consider our science very primitive because we have to dissect everything, and they're not going to give up any of their people. However, I know because a Sasquatch told a woman a lot of stuff. A little bit of it is in my second book, but that the government has, I don't know how many bodies, but they've got, at least they've got a couple. They may have more, so they already know that they're ETs and everything, and that's why they don't want, they don't want this out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it just shows you that the world is much more magical and mysterious than science wants us to think, that it's a dead universe out there, and it's not. It's full of mystery and life itself. So this is hopefully the future that we're moving into, and that's why I like to do this program. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us tonight and all the energy you've put into doing this research for this book, The Sasquatch People.
Yes, and keep in mind that we're only seeing roughly about 1% of what's really around us. The rest is interdimensional, and of course, I believe Einstein said that, that this is a situation that is, if we can see it physically, it's real, but all these other real beings and all these other things are around us, but we're not seeing the other 99%. In closing, I would like to quote from my first book to wrap this up.
Please,
and what I'm saying is that I end my chapter in The Psychic Sasquatch and Their UFO Connection with this quote from a man, a physicist called Lincoln Barnett. And he wrote this book in 1948. And the title of the book is The Universe and Dr. Einstein. And this is what he said back then. And I quote, and to conclude our talk here, I quote, "There seemed to be no process of nature which could not be described in terms of ordinary experience, illustrated by a concrete model or predicted by Newton's amazingly accurate laws of mechanics. But before the turn of the past century, certain deviations from these laws became apparent, and though these deviations were slight, they were of such a fundamental nature that the whole edifice of Newton's machine-like universe began to topple. The certainty that science can explain how things happen began to dim about 20 years ago, and right now it is a question whether scientific man is in touch with reality at all or can ever hope to be." End quote.
So where does that leave us, really? I mean, really out of the loop about the nature of reality, doesn't it?
No. What it does is, and I don't want to sound religious, but it means get close to God, pray, meditate, clear all your emotional baggage, forgive people by starting to forgive people. It's a job, but I did it in order to raise my spiritual vibrations so I can better help the planet and mix with them. And that's what it's about. And that's where reality begins, by clearing yourself. And it's like what Dr. Wayne Dyer says, I'm not in competition with anybody. I just want to be a better person today than I was yesterday. And that's what I seek to do. I mean, I've made mistakes like everyone else. Probably was a jerk at times somewhere along the line. But you let go of that. Don't beat yourself up over it. And forgive the people that dumped on you. All that emotional stuff. It blocks people when people say, oh, I hate that. I really don't hate anything. I don't even hate my enemies. In fact, they told me, pray for your enemies. Love your enemies unconditionally. I mean, it sounds like what Jesus Christ said, but I can't help that. This is what they're saying. So if Jesus Christ said it, well, maybe it is true, and maybe that's what we have to work on. We have to apply this to ourselves and not just read it and talk about it. We have to live it.
Thank you.
Anyhow, thank you, Alan, for having me on, and God bless you all, and I hope you enjoyed the interview.
Oh, I love this kind of stuff. I love the research you've done, and I've been talking to Kewaunee Lapseritis, who's a what would you call yourself, a Sasquatch?
Well, a cryptoanthropologist, not a cryptozoologist. If you need a label, I mean, but basically, I'm a social scientist just trying to find this mystery, and didn't realize that I would be a part of it. And,
well, you are a part of it. And I think that last piece about going within and discovering ourselves of who we really are is the key to the future of the planet. And I think each one of us has to do that. So
all the answers are within, not without. It's just like, I don't know how many times, being very intellectual about things myself, the Sasquatch said, Kewaunee, get out of your head, back into your heart. Mm. Everything they said is in a heart level. Stay in that heart space. And, it took me a while, and I'm flowing more, and they said to trust. So, don't focus on fear or negative emotions. It'll pull you down, and you will contract. They use the word contract. Be in your heart space with love and faith and trust, and you will expand out into the universe. You'll start expanding. Your heart will go out almost like a beam. So you'll be directed. You won't have to get intellectual about every little thing. You'll come to a knowing, but you have to work at it. Anyway, that's the final message.
That is beautiful, and I'm sure they're beautiful heart beings. So if we do encounter them, there's nothing to fear except to start loving more. And I think we feel the love in their presence. That's what I get, what you've said. So thank you very much for being a guest on New Realities. This is Alan Steinfeld. I've been talking to Kewaunee Lapseritis. His website is sasquatchpeople.com. That's SASQUATCHpeople.com. This is New Realities, and if you want to reach me, you can go to my website, newrealities.com. You can email me at newrealities@earthlink.com.